Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Grayson. Glad to be here with you all for another weekly stream. Tonight, we have more of a discussion rather than like a debate like you might be used to. So, without any introduction, we do have my interlocutor for tonight here with us, Nathan. So, I'm going to add him to the stage. Welcome to the stream, Nathan. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm about to go off on yet another road trip that I'm very excited about, maybe to the chagrin of my subscribers. But don't worry, to everyone listening, I do have some videos in the backlog that I've pre-recorded that I will be uploading. So you will not go without base theory content. So I'm excited for it. I'm going to be head to the West Coast, beautiful weather, see some friends. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, it'll be a good time, man.
And as I hinted at the beginning, this is not really like a very aggro debate kind of thing because my guest tonight, Nathan, otherwise known as PitchLumin, his channel on YouTube is PitchLumin. We've been trying to set this up for a while. We have a little bit of a time constraint, so it's not like we could talk all night here. So this is just going to be sort of, an intro, our first time talking to each other. This is going to be a sort of informal discussion about flat Earth. It's not like we're going to be doing presentations and going really, really in depth with all the evidence and everything. But I titled this video something very specific. I titled it, "Can I Change This Flat Earther's Mind?" So it's different than just a regular debate title. And there's a very specific reason for that. That's because Nathan, my friend here, I think is a little bit different than a lot of flat earthers that I've talked to, in that I think that he's actually intellectually honest. I think he has an open mind. I think he's intellectually capable of understanding the science that we're talking about. I think Nathan is like an honest guy. I don't think that he's just here trying to score rhetorical points. I think he's capable of critically engaging with the evidence and seeing where the evidence lays. Like, I've got a lot of faith in Nathan here as a person. We've talked before on the phone several months ago for like an hour or something. And I just got a good feeling. I felt like this guy seems honest. He seems open to actually critically analyzing what the evidence actually shows. There's only one thing, Nathan. There's one thing that was a major red flag for me. And it's kind of what I wanted to start out talking about with you tonight, because one of the things that you said, which I asked you about on that call that we did a couple months ago, I don't know if you remember or not, but this made a big impression on me. And it's been kind of going in my mind ever since, because you defended this. I didn't think that you were going to defend this. I thought that surely this has got to be a straw man of what you think. So let me ask you, do you still stick by the statement that you told me that day, where you said that if Earth is not flat, then God does not exist? Like an if-then statement. It blew my mind. Do you still stand by that, or is your views changed, or is there nuance, or like, have I got that wrong? Explain it for me real quick.
That's fairly right. Yeah, I would say if the Earth was a globe, I believe the Bible would be false. So the God of the Bible would not be all knowing or all capable. There could be a creator to the kind of naturalistic worldview, like the heliocentrism or acentrism, the universe with galaxies and everything. There could be a creator to all that, but they probably are not very personal or caring about us, because we wouldn't have any religious text or spiritual text that gives us a connection to, their wills, their wants, anything like that, or how they say man should be. So
Nathan, real quick.
I do think that, yeah,
Real
if
quick,
the
you
Bible
started
is
breaking
false,
up.
I actually would go.
Nathan, you started breaking up a little bit there. I don't know if it was just because it was too long in the feed. I'm going to give it a second. Let it work out that kink a little bit. Hopefully your connection will become, it's already getting better a little bit again. I do have a follow-up question on what you're asking, because it sounds like that is sort of accurate to say of what you think. And I want to know, like, does your family and friends think this as well? Or like, where did you come to this conclusion from? Because you're, correct me if I'm wrong, but your family is Christian as well, but they don't agree with you about this conclusion about the flat Earth. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So my family is Christian or kind of Catholic. Really, it's how I was raised. Some people would probably want a bifurcation between those two terms, but faith in Jesus, yes, which is I think Christian. So Christian, yes. They don't view the earth as flat. Some of like my parents have kind of listened to it a little bit, but they are kind of like, well, it could be, and that's about all they'll go. But like some of my family members are like, you're so far off base, and you'll get picked off and everything, and like that's a
So,
bad for a baseball reference. Like it's they think it's like a kind of they're like there's no way. And I get it's the conspiracy. I think people are just so good. Most people are so good they can't imagine a world where people would want to hurt others. So which I like. I like that kind of mindset. I'd like that to
well,
be reality.
Nathan,
But
before we
yeah,
get
they are not.
before we get off too much, the reason why I was asking you that is because like most Christians or most theists that believe in God and the world are not flat earthers, right? So obviously they think that you can believe in God and believe the earth is not flat. And it seems like the family that raised you is also believes that. So where did you like what changed your mind that led you to the belief that, you know, the Bible clearly shows like the earth is flat or else the Bible is not true? What formed that conclusion in your mind?
So I chronologically, okay, so the Bible being a flat earth book, chronologically, it I think necessarily has to be the globe for all intents and purposes. We can just say 500 BC, around there, first time that the globe conception became a thing, that cultures were like, yeah, the earth could be a globe. The Bible has to be a flat earth culture type book. And those be the people that were writing scripture down. They had to be flat earth culture because the
Yeah.
globe did not exist while the earliest chapters of the Bible were around. And Genesis specifically is the origin, the creation account. So, and it is a flat earth culture book. It's a lot of the naturalism sciences, capital S sciences that we learn in science, from my view. But like those sciences, like the Big Bang, like evolution, the narrative of life and death, and those are different. They're 180 degrees opposite the Bible, what the Bible says, and what our academic capital S sciences happen to teach is the natural worldview.
So
So
let's not get too far
that would be
off.
yeah.
Let's not get too far off. I think that there's maybe a little bit of
So
delay with the connection. The main point that I was just trying to get at was it your own readings of the book or the text? Because I agree with you that the the culture that produced these texts, the Old Testament, would have been a flat Earth culture because you're right. They would not have been exposed to the experiments of the Greeks or the knowledge of the Greeks about the the round Earth. So I agree with you that these texts are written by like heliocentric flat Earth cultures. What I'm not sure is why it means that if these these texts are not 100% scientifically accurate, then that means that God could not have been real. Because again, there are a lot of people in the world who believe in God and also believe that these texts are not 100% accurate and should not be taken as scientific books that have any kind of scientific truth. So that seems like a pretty popular position for Christians. So like, why wouldn't you just have concluded
and
that?
so to that, yeah. So with there are a lot of Christians who do have a belief. They might believe in evolution. They might believe in the Big Bang, old Earth or young Earth. Um, so to me, what that would mean is how much compromise are you willing to give for the literal interpretation of the text as opposed to making it more allegory or poetry? Because if the Bible were to be true, we would want it to be as literal as possible because we want there to literally be a life after death, which is what Jesus, by rising, he showed death is not the end for mankind. There is more after this life, and that's why it's important, like how we are to others, to ourselves, and what we do in this life, our with our free will and our actions. And if we have to keep giving and giving, that the Bible, you know, it says this, but it doesn't really mean it, and it says this over here, but it doesn't really mean it. Suddenly, someone could say, why would anything in that book mean anything? Why are you, if you're willing to concede the first page entirely and say, no, that's just, they weren't quite right about that. Why wouldn't God use divine revelation and explain a globe in Genesis?
Yeah. Nathan, really quick, because we are kind of having some persistent connection issues, like people are pointing out, like the connection. One subscriber here has a good suggestion. Uche is saying maybe turn off the camera, and because as long as we can hear what you're saying without like interruptions or roboting, I think that's probably for the best. I mean, if we can just hear your arguments.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and try that. And I did want to shout out Yahooligan here for gifting 5 memberships to the channel. So big shout outs to that. I can't see who got a membership, unfortunately, on StreamYard. So I'm not, you know, I would shout you guys out, but big ups to all my members. We literally did just do a members only poll, just a poll for the members in the community to determine the topics for the videos that I will be uploading while I'm on my trip coming up. So there's a lot of you know, incentives for being members. That's all I'll say. But so, and yes, Yahooligan is saying that I did make him do it, and that is accurate. But so I want to address what you're saying, because I actually am quite sympathetic to this argument. But like, again, that's just because I am an atheist. But I want to ask, like, because I'll clarify the reason why I was going down this line of questioning first, because like I said, I do consider you to be relatively open to critically analyzing the evidence. But this, right, like this seems to be like a big thing that would prevent you from maybe being completely unbiased. Because if you're putting so much stakes on the shape of the earth, about literally whether or not a God exists, and like whether or not there's a heaven, and like literally the entire purpose of our existence here on earth is riding on the shape of the earth, based on this syllogism that you've kind of like constructed here, that if the earth isn't flat, then the Bible is false and God is not true. Like, it just seems like it's been built up to be so much riding on this, that like, how could you be objective in looking at the audience, at the evidence, if your entire afterlife and your entire conception of reality is at stake? And that seems like maybe a potential source of bias. That's why I wanted to start by asking it before we get into any actual like discussion of evidence or anything like that. So
yeah, that's a very thorough analysis.
So I'll lead this into a question, and then you can go off on that. Why would it not be the case that maybe, you know, if you're looking at the evidence and maybe you conclude, look, there's a sufficient evidence to show that the earth is round and not flat, and then maybe you become a deist, or maybe you become, you know, a non-literalist Christian. You know, like, you just don't take the Bible literally, but you're still a Christian. Like, why wouldn't those be other possibilities for you? Why does it have to be just straight into atheism?
Yeah, so I would probably, because I think to declare being an atheist, I think would be kind of like how they say you would have to have all knowledge to know everything, to know there is no God. So I'd be kind of close to atheist, but I wouldn't subscribe to any particular religion. And even like as far as Christianity, like say the earth is a globe, which I used to believe, and I used to really enjoy like space. I was really into astronomy. It was like the only science I really liked in high school and everything. So I want to be in reality, that because it's important. I don't want to have a faith that takes away from my time here. And so if my faith is placed in something that I know is partially wrong or something like that, I feel like I could do more in other ways with my time and everything. And I will say, like, there are things of Christianity that I you know, are part of my being, regardless if I had belief in the Bible or not, like unconditional love towards others, forgiveness, grace, and mercy, I think are very important things to have. And part of why I am very in favor of going with reality is because the Bible says to prove all things. So if you prove the Bible wrong, that kind of last biblical act would actually still be biblical. And so it'd be following the Bible. And I think that's, and part of the flat earth thing that is actually, I think, a big barrier of entry for many into the flat earth is the level of conspiracy, because it would be a big conspiracy. There'd be a lot of industries and things affected by the shape of the earth. And so and my uncle works for the post office. Like, you think he's in on it because it's the whole government thing and all that. I do think that there are, and this is hard for some people, because most nice people don't think about bad things, entertainment or something, but they themselves are not originating thoughts of harming others. So it might be hard for people to conceptualize this. But like, there are things like Operation Northwoods, Operation Sea Spray, and large area coverage, where people in our own military who are supposed to protect us, they proposed we fake an event to go to war. That means that everyone who would have fought in that conflict would have died for a lie, for people to gain whatever spoils of war they
Nathan,
get.
I can agree that the
Operation Sea Spray,
military
large
has
area coverage, or biological. And
Nathan, I can agree that the military has
hold. Yes, and so that's there are people who, and I should say this too when I say that, is there are certain many people who serve, who mean well, are very noble, and really to want to defend others even at the cost of your life is an incredible thing. So I don't want to take that away from them. But there are people out there in positions of influence and power who are willing to harm others. And so the important thing to me is, if we are in reality, we can address these things specifically with proper arguments to be able to not to get them out of those positions where they can tell people to go attack people or anything like that, or have the ability to spray a chemical on food or something like that. Being in reality helps get mankind to a quality level of life.
Okay. Yes. No. I get it. I agree with you. In reality, there are bad people out there. There are bad people in power, in positions of power, that do bad things. I agree with you. Like, there are false flag operations, whatever. Like, the government's not always up to good, but the level of conspiracy here with flat earth is beyond all that, I would say. And let me explain why. But first, I kind of wanted to drill down on something that you had brought up about how you want to live in reality. You want to have evidence-based beliefs. And that's awesome. Like, that's music to my ears. Like, I agree with you 100%. We are on the same page on that regard.
Yeah, buddy.
And it's just weird to me how we can disagree so much about reality when we're both coming at it from trying to be evidence-based and actually get to the bottom of like the empirical truth here. So it's crazy to me how we can disagree so much when we're coming at it the same way. And it sounds to me like also like, it basically sounds like this belief of yours of flat earth is like getting in the way of the rest of your life. Like, you're saying you want to live in reality, but like, in my opinion, at least, you're not living in reality. And it's actually like hurting the life around you. You said like your family's not flat earthers. Like, they don't like this stuff. Like, I would imagine friends, dating possibilities probably narrows those a lot. You said even like you had dreams to go into like medicine. You were in college, you were pursuing your degree and like career goals, and you had to like drop out because you didn't want to compromise your beliefs about like creation, right? I mean, that sounds like this has like really like harmed your overall self-actualization in your life, like your career, your friends, your family, like your romance. Like, it sounds like this is like these beliefs are actively bad for you.
That's so okay, maybe first I'll clarify those a little bit here. So family, like back a while back, like when I got into flat earth, I was telling my family and my friends about the possibility that the earth was flat and that it looks like it is. And it is something that is important. If the earth is flat, it's important to tell people. It's important people know, because that's huge for exposing the evil people, the Freemasons who seek the light of Lucifer and all that, and who set the country up, and that would be important for explaining. And so that was what, like, I did push it with my family and friends talking about it, but after like a little while of kind of how the conversations went, and then they're like, okay, I'm getting, some of my friends would be like, hey, I'm getting like upset with this and everything. So I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't bring it up after a little while. But then like one of my friends we'd be just messing around, hanging out or something. And then they'd be like, hey, if you talking to someone else, he'd be like, hey, if you, keep thinking like that, people will think you're so stupid. You think the earth is flat. So then they would like chip at me. And so then I would, defend my position because I'm willing to. And so I then it would start up another conversation. And so there was a little bit of strain, and that's actually like to parlay it into why I'm, at a hotel is because I did upset like a lot of my friends with this, but I think it's important. And I think it was Penn Teller who said that like if there really was a God and was hell and eternal punishment, like it would be on you. You would be a bad person to not tell others about how to escape that. So it would I feel like I would have been a bad person to not tell them this divine truth that allows us to know special creation and know where humanity is and what the earth is and what all this is here that we have. And so I would kind of tell them, but then I gave them some space. I gave them some space. I think one of my buddies who's really close to me doesn't want to talk to me right now. And there's actually something very, it's like dark and demonic with something that happened with, so like his brother. Actually, like I got his brother got into some dark stuff, and it's I like he.
You don't have to get into it. Don't worry.
Took himself, if that makes sense. But right before he did, he put like a 666 on his forehead. Okay, all right. So that was horrible. So there are things with my friends that I've been through, and I'm kind of just the relationships are getting better. But like my roommate that I live with is one of my good buddies, and so out of respect for him, like if me and his wife are at home, like I go elsewhere to talk about this, just so I can kind of be loud, and if I have to show something or whatever. But I try to kind of do it out of respect for them. But yeah, I've broken up with I broke up with a woman because she says she didn't want flat earth or anything, or vegan really, because I feel if I'm gonna like marry someone, which is what I look for in a relationship, like I'm trying to go towards marriage, and if we're gonna have kids, I want our kids to be healthy. And so as far as like school goes with nutrition, like I haven't dropped out. I'm still pursuing the nutrition. Like right now I'm trying to get heart disease reversal information into the medical teachings, the medical curriculum, like to learning cardiologists, so that they have the information to then be able to talk to the patients about it. So that I'm still pursuing. I was going to switch my major because that is kind of, the nutrition thing is kind of in an area where it's more on an administrative side and not really on like a classroom side. So I was going to go for physics, but now with like the final experiment, if everything's fine with that, I might not have to, because I mean that would be very, very much like a very big determiner.
Wait, pause right there.
So then I would probably try to go to school. I'd go for like
that interests me. So you're saying that the final experiment, for those of you that don't know, this is like in, I think, December, in winter of this upcoming year, some flat earthers and globers are both going to be going down to Antarctica to try to observe a 24-hour continuous sun. So you're saying that this result will actually sway your position one way or the other. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. If the sun is up for 24 hours, I would go to a globe, because that to me, and I like, I've been in flat earth debates before, and I will say, I think just about every time, that I consider the earth, the ground itself, to be primary in determining cosmology, whereas the sky would be like secondary, and then maybe a force or pseudo force like gravity would be tertiary. So I think there are certain things that are more substantial than others for trying to validate a worldview. However, I do think that the sun going around in Antarctica, there's no way I can conceive of a flat earth model that would be able to work with that kind of a lighting effect. I know that the sky is on a flat Earth. It's the heavens. It's kind of God's wonder for man. Like we're allowed to have it for seasons and time and navigation, but there are mysteries to it and everything. So I with other kind of sky topics, I'm more kind of lenient. But with the sun, I think that would be there's absolutely it can't go behind you and be overhead in Australia and
No,
Africa
Nathan,
at the same
honestly,
time.
respect. Honestly,
So,
I completely respect your position on this, and I'm like greatly looking forward to the final experiment this winter. I honestly wish that I could go. I would love to go to Antarctica and see it myself. I'm sure that you would probably too. So
right?
we will both
Yeah.
be
Oh, yeah. I
watching
would
this.
go.
We will both be watching this with bated breath, very excited. So I honestly, I
Yeah.
love hearing that you're open to honestly looking at the evidence when it comes. And I do wanted to have a discuss about the state of the evidence, before the final experiment as of like today, because I think that I think that the evidence is more than sufficient to show the shape of the Earth before the final experiment, the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. But we'll get into that. I just wanted to kind of cap this part of the discussion off by saying like your what you were saying totally makes sense to me. Like if what you're saying is true and that the Bible is literally true and that God exists and that we have an afterlife and our entire afterlife is riding on this, and you have all these, these kinds of stakes within the framework of like a flat earth, young earth, creationism, Christianity. Within that framework, I agree that like the things about this life are a lot less important, right? But um
Mhm.
I think like if we are truly going to be approaching this, and I think that we're generally on the same page here, we are trying to figure out what is true in reality. We are trying to see what the
Yeah.
evidence shows us, and we're trying to actually get a genuine, honest read at the state of the evidence to figure out what is true. And if we're coming at it like that, I think that you can be convinced. I think you can like be convinced of what the evidence is actually showing and what the evidence does actually show. And I want to get to that, but I do want to say that if you do and you are able to move past this whole flat earth thing, it sounds like your life is just going to get better. Like you'll no longer have to tiptoe around this with friends and family. You'll no longer have to, you can widen your dating pool to a lot more people. I mean, there's a lot less flat earth girls out there, let me tell you. And like it just sounds like your life is just going to get better the moment you shed this flat earth belief.
I hope whatever the results show, I hope things get better for mankind. I really like if we can if the earth is a globe, we should be able to reasonably kind of do away with religion. Honestly, we if there is no if there's no creator who cares enough about us to tell us cosmology and where we live and everything, then then what we have people giving an hour a week to that cause or that are reading the Bible instead of reading about science and the new frontiers of what we're learning or what we know about the natural world. And those are now I think there are still good things. And it's I hope people for humanity's sake would still contribute to, volunteering, helping feeding the poor, taking care of others who are in need. And I think that would still be a thing, but because those are good either way, or whatever the shape is, how we treat each other is more is the important thing. And I do
100%.
think if the earth was flat, that would be very powerful in helping others who might currently be in a position where they don't mind hurting someone or lying to them or cheating with them, like something like that. Like people who are willing to hurt others might think twice about that if the earth was flat and there's a creator above them. So I think it could go either way. Mankind could benefit from the results, from the observations. I think it could be good either way. As for myself, like how my life has been, I feel I've been very blessed. And I am very grateful for my friends and family, the people I've even met along the way, even like on social media and things. And I think there's a lot of really nice people. And so I want to live like what makes me happy in life is those people being happy and the people around me and knowing people are taken care of. And I would love it if we lived in a world where there wasn't people who think about mass shootings and doing that stuff. So then no one had to worry anywhere. And
Nathan, look,
hopefully
we
with our
agree on so many things, and I do think that you are a genuinely good person, and it
thanks,
sounds
man.
like
You too.
like we just have to get a hold of the state of the evidence, right? It sounds like that's what this is coming down to. So maybe we should move to the evidence for the fact that the Earth is not flat, right? Because I was going to bring up tonight, I was going to bring up, I mean, there's multiple lines of evidence that I could point to, but I really like, as of late, I like LIGO because I went and I visited there in January of this year. And I'm liking right now the flight routes, like the flight times between different cities, especially in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, that I cannot figure out how they would possibly work on a flat Earth. So those are two lines of evidence right there that I think are preclusionary and definitively show that the Earth cannot be flat.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, LIGO is something that I think it's a incredibly straight structure. I was going to ask you because I looked at a couple papers and I couldn't, and then I tried to look for a few images and I couldn't kind of find the ones I was looking for how it portrayed the geometry of the architecture.
Yeah, I
Is
can pull that up for you right now while you're talking.
okay. So the line the arms of the device are straight, right?
Yes.
So they are straight. So the tubing, not only the 1 meter aperture tube in the center, but the outer shell around it is also straight.
It doesn't really matter as much, but yeah, I mean it's housing that inner tube, so it is going to be straight. Yes, I'll show
Okay.
you the picture of it. Let me share my screen here, and then we can talk with a picture for reference. But go on.
So yeah, I would say if it's straight, um, that would be. So in one of the papers I was reading, it said they were looking for they had surveyed various areas, and so they are looking for an area where they found desirable conditions.
Yep.
And so I don't know if that would they're looking for an area where they could lay this long device. But I think if you're putting a straight like if you're putting down a straight line arm, that is going to be straight regardless if there's topography around you or not. Like if you were putting down something straight and there was a slight incline over an area, 2.5 kilometers out,
Yeah.
you would have to level that incline
Yeah.
to then be able to push through it and go straight. So I think you can make a straight line machine or infrastructure, and then that would still you could build that on a flat Earth or a globe.
Yeah, so let me clarify then, because yes, so for the people listening, this is a picture. Oh, sorry, this is a picture of LIGO. So there's basically it's kind of an L shaped, and there's two 4-kilometer arms that have to be perfectly straight. So that's what Nathan was just talking about with those arms being perfectly straight. And so he's saying that look, if you have a straight line and you put it on an uneven surface, it doesn't matter. Like whatever shape of the surface is, that thing is still going to be straight. So it doesn't really matter, right? But here is the thing, right? Is that would be true if it was the same. Like if we put a level on one end of this thing and we put a level on the other end of the thing, that you would agree that in your example that you just laid out, that the level should give the same value, correct? But with LIGO, if you put a level on top of LIGO, you get a different reading.
Hold on one sec. I'm getting a little bit of interference here.
Okay.
Hold on one sec here.
So what I wanted to essentially point out about this and why I think that this is such strong evidence against flat Earth is because LIGO could not be level. Okay, flat earthers all the time will say that level is straight. Level cannot mean curved. And on the globe model, obviously the surface of the oceans or surface of large bodies of water are curved and level at the same time. So level means curving with the curvature of the earth so that you're always at a perpendicular direction to the downward vector of gravity. So this is not level, it is straight. And there is a difference. And that is the difference that is highlighted here. So, like with Nathan's example of a much smaller scale of just a single straight like tube or something that you put on some uneven ground so that the thing is kind of it's not level, but it's straight. And if you measure the levelness of that, you'll get the same reading on every single section of that tube. But you don't get that with LIGO here because it's so long that the direction of gravity on one end of the thing is slightly different than the direction of gravity on the other because again it's following the curvature of the earth. So it's actually not a uniform level across this tube. If you drop the level at the midway point, you're going to get a totally different reading than if you drop a level at either end. And that is completely different from just having a straight tube on uneven ground.
Gosh, that was. I'm sorry, Grayson. I was getting like a lot of that
Okay.
was like very illegible on my end, and that hey to everyone like Grayson has been very patient and very flexible and willing to work with me on trying to have me on his show. And Grayson is someone who I've watched for a while, and I think he's a really good man. And so I'm really honored actually to be on your show. And I wanted to say, like, I really am sorry for this connection to everyone, because you like it is if y'all knew what Grayson and I have.
And yeah, we are losing
Been,
you, Nathan. I'm sorry to say your connection, man. But yes, no, we have been trying to have this set up for like 5 months now. So it has been a bit of a process. But hey, I mean, like Nathan's also been trying to make this happen as well. So I'm thankful to you for trying to get on here. I wish that your connection was better, but I do appreciate you trying. Can you try to say something now and see if maybe your connection has been restored to any degree? Nathan? Okay, well, a lot of the audience is actually being quite supportive to Nathan, so we love that. You guys are a great audience. Not being dicks or anything. So I really much appreciate the audience here. We might have to
Hey,
try.
Grayson.
There you are, Nathan. What's up?
Is it okay? Maybe if you want to try, we could do like a cell phone call, and then if you just put me on speaker, maybe I would come through
Okay.
kind of loud enough.
You know what, man? At this point, I'll try anything. I'm down. So
Let's
I'll call you here. You can hang up the StreamYard, and then I'll give you a call and put you on speaker, and we can do this a little bit different than normal. I think I don't think the audience. I think the audience will understand. So let's go ahead and give that a try.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm calling Nathan, putting him on speaker. Let me know in the live chat if you can hear Nathan's voice when it's on speaker here.
All right, so this is a test to make sure is the audio can y'all hear my voice? Is it coming through okay through double speaker action?
So I can hear you fine, Nathan. I'm gonna be looking at the live chat to see if everybody else can hear you. But yeah, we can just go from here. We were just talking about LIGO. I don't know if you want to continue talking about LIGO or not, but yeah, I'm hearing people saying that they can hear you. So
okay,
basically.
Sweet.
When I have talked to LIGO before with flat earthers, the most typical response that I will hear back, because in my opinion, because the data is so conclusive, the typical response I hear back is that it's fake. It's fabricated data. It's part of the conspiracy. They're faking their data. And And yeah, so how do you respond to that? Also, I just want to point out that people are in the live chat are actually saying that you sound much better actually on speakerphone.
Awesome. Okay, so LIGO, people saying LIGO being fake. So real quick, I wanna just make sure it is clear for everyone that yeah, Grayson, you guys, is really an awesome guy. I can tell you from behind the scenes, like he tries hard to set things up and to get things happening. And he does make really good content. And so I just want to let y'all know that he does he cares. And so that's
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you.
that's that. Yeah, it's so that's let's see. So yeah, with it being fake, have you heard there was something about like when LIGO was originally being constructed, they had built it, they ran like simulations and everything, and then they like turned it on, sent it, and then they said that they detected something, and then like a month or something later, it came out that was like a test signal, or it was kind of a decoy.
Yes.
Okay, so that I think that's you know, you could say that is engineering, and they're trying to calibrate and make sure it's sensitive enough to detect what it's trying to detect. There you know, there could be explanations for things. It's actually kind of similar to the moon landing, like with the simulations being so real that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the actual moon landing and a simulation. So I think there's something to that.
Let me just briefly explain for the people listening. What Nathan is referring to is before, like while they were kind of doing their initial like testing at LIGO, they basically had a drill, kind of a simulation to see like if there was a signal, would they detect it? How would their procedures hold up? So basically the management, without telling the scientists, kind of did like they introduced like some data like to basically see how the scientists would handle it as a trial run. That's what he's referring to was that. And so he's basically saying that, well, look, if, you know, these sort of management could just introduce this data and the scientists wouldn't even know, then maybe the whole thing could be fabricated data that's opening up the door. And that is the argument that I've heard from flat earthers like, you know, Toby and Alan and a few of these guys on the Discord. That is the line of attack that I have heard from them saying. And so my response to that is where basically the instances where LIGO's data has been cross-corroborated with other instruments, like other researcher teams across the world. So there was a prediction that, like in general relativity, in astrophysics more broadly, using basically our current models of astrophysics, they said if two neutron stars were to merge and collide, then basically because of the way that light is absorbed by material, we should be able to detect the gravitational waves from that merger 2 seconds before we detect the gamma ray burst from that event. So that's a distinct prediction. And LIGO was able to detect, like, basically when two neutron stars merge, the signal, the waveform of the gravitational wave that is detected is unique compared to like a black hole merger. Like it has a characteristic shape to it. And LIGO detected this shape at not just one, but both detectors, and Virgo all the way in Italy, which does have a different management team. It's a different country. It's Italian. It's not overseen by NASA or the US or whatever. So all three of them detected this gravitational wave from these two neutron stars merging. And then 1.7 seconds later, it was detected by a separate facility that was monitoring gamma ray bursts. So that's like the corroboration, and they pinpointed it to the exact same spot of the sky. Both the gravitational waves and the gamma ray bursts are coming from the same place. So that's like a cross corroboration where like the data I don't think could be faked at such a large scale that it's not just one facility, it's not just two facilities, it's not just one country, it's multiple different countries, multiple different facilities, multiple different agencies, multiple different, like, you know, one's a space-based. Yeah, multiple different detections. One is space-based looking at gamma ray light, and one is on the ground, like, you know, looking at gravitational waves, and they're picking up exactly what was predicted. So to me, that's just too many different cross-corroborating methods of getting the same thing.
Yeah, because I did read something about how, like, even between just the two LIGOs, the one in Washington and the one in Livingston, that there were attempts in the engineering process as they were like developing it and calibrating it. They were trying to make sure that they were not like networked together to try to not have synchronicity or anything like that, so that they were independently operating. So I think that there is, I think like the way I would, in thinking about it, so like if there was someone that had like a piece of data that they could let out, that it could go, they could give it to the various systems or programs that need it, because there is like network connectivity, and like things can be programmed, and then you can send a signal through programs. And so I'm not with that, like the multiple different detections. They could have picked something up, some disturbance or shake or something. And then as for the gamma, detecting it from, they pointed this gamma team was looking for gamma ray bursts, and they had their telescope or their optic pointed in that area of the sky at that time.
Yeah.
Um,
These gamma ray instruments, this one in question that corroborated, I think, was the Fermi. It's a space-based telescope that is looking at like a wide area at the sky at all times, and it's just detecting really bright, big bursts of gamma radiation. And so it detected a burst from the same part of the sky that they got these gravitational waves from 1.7 seconds after the gravitational waves were first detected.
Which would be that would be like a very powerful predictive measure.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's I mean, if that is something. Now, if the Earth is a globe, that would be what they're, very likely that's what they're detecting is gravity waves and gamma radiation, because that would be, as far as for the flat Earth, how that is explained, would I mean, if there is something in the programming that someone could let code out that says this area of the sky in a spherical model has colliding neutron stars, and that produces, based on the program of what happens when neutron stars collide, they produce a gamma burst. That could be something that could be programmed and coded, and then when they choose to let the signal out, it registers as a signal like that these machines are able to get.
So I agree that there are like all kinds of like, if I was going to be writing a spy novel or a sci-fi, I could probably come up with some convoluted scheme by which somebody could fake this. But like, do you have an actual reason to think that any of that is true?
Well, yeah. So if the Earth, if the the space agencies and all that, if they know the Earth is flat, they are as vested in keeping that lie of a globe going. So they would go to any length to keep their narrative alive. That's like why with Gus, when he said that, when he hung a lemon in the module and said that there was no way they could go to the moon, they like he was with them and in a military contract and everything, but like they can do things to people to they're willing to do things to keep their narrative going, let alone to just create fake data. Like they could do that.
Okay, so then I have a question for you about this. Like, basically, if this is some sort of like massive cover up or plot to conceal the evidence and literally like create fake data to try to convince the world that the Earth is round, and I guess the reason why, at least I hear, the reason why most flat earthers tell me why these people are doing this is basically like, if if people understood that the world was flat and it was the center of the universe, then that would lead people to like basically thinking that this universe had to be created for us, and that would lead people to God. So they're trying to lead people away from God by convincing everybody that the earth is not in a privileged position. It's round, it's in the, just a spiral arm of the Milky Way. You're not important, blah blah blah. That's the answer that I
far
get
away from heaven.
That's the answer that I get most often. Now, my question with that is, like, do you think that basically like the geopolitics of Russia versus the US versus China versus Iran, like all these countries with all their unique geopolitical interests, and they're all rivals, they're against each other, but they're all unified in this, right? There's no country on earth that has come out and said that, hey, our scientists in our government research program have figured out that all these rich and powerful countries like the US has actually been lying to the world, and the world is not round or whatever. Like no country has come forward like and said that. Like the actual countries that have the resources, they have the scientists, like they could actually do these tests and they have the money to do this. Why didn't the Soviet Union come out against this? Why hasn't China? Why hasn't Iran? Like not all these countries are against God. Like I mean, Iran is a very religious country. Like you'd think that they wouldn't all be united. All these disparate countries would not all be united to pull over this entire conspiracy on humanity, right? Like they would all have to be working together for this, and that does not seem reasonable.
Yeah, so they would have to be working together, and they like the Antarctic Treaty is signed by many countries and is upheld by these countries. Like as far as how the why would this red country not out America as a lying country, because that would be good for them. Well, they like a country like Russia, for example, during the Cold War. Russia got to tout themselves as scientifically on the frontier, on the cutting edge of development of technology. They were the first everything in space, basically. And then the thing that America got was to say the first person on the moon. And so each country gets a side of the coin that they can give to their people and say, look how advanced we are, how much we lead the world, how we're the superpower of the world.
So what about this, right? About this? Because that would encourage, like, right, Russia's like, okay, US and Russia, we'll split the credit. Like Russia will get all these first, and then we'll let you guys have the first on the moon, and then we can both have a success story to tell our people. But then it would be in Russia's interest, or it would be in the US's interest to backstab their partner. For they would get all the gain. If they let the US have the first couple wins or whatever, and then they come out and say, hey, the rest of the world, guess what? We have evidence that the US has been lying to you. Suddenly, the US's allies are like, what the heck, dude? Like, you've been lying to us this whole time? The US loses geopolitical positioning, and the Soviet Union would gain. They were the truth tellers. They were the ones that brought humanity out of this veil of ignorance. They would win the Cold War. Like it's not.
Yeah, well, the people of that country would say, well, you lied to us too then about going to the moon or going into space.
I don't think that's very realistic, because Russia could easily have said, well, we were tricked too until we developed our top secret program to test the US lies, and then we found out for the first time that they were lying. They could spin this in a way that they could sell it to their own people. I refuse to believe that this could not be spun for their own people.
That's fair. They definitely could. I think what it is it allows people to, if all of the governments are in on it, they're able to tell their people, and they're able to, it keeps a more, it's for their control, to keep control over the public, over the masses, because we the people, if we were banded together, we would be able to govern ourselves and to have our own society where we don't have these people in charge who make bad decisions and have us always involved in war and tell others or tell people it's okay to fight one another.
There's two things in the comments that I think are good points that people are bringing up. One is that people are bringing up North Korea, which North Korea is definitely not a signatory for the Antarctic Treaty, and North Korea has not gotten any credit for any space program. North Korea doesn't have any success story to tell their people. They're not getting any credit for any space thing. And yet, North Korea is trying to develop a space program and failing. They're not the ones that are saying that the Earth is flat. So, like, wouldn't North Korea be able to gain in the world if North Korean scientists, which do have the proper resources to be doing these tests, if the North Korean scientists who are like so alienated on the geopolitical stage, they come out and they say, hey, our scientists proved that the rest of these world countries have all been lying to you, humanity. And suddenly, North Korea just found out that they're not so alone anymore. They've overnight changed their geopolitical fortunes and become like a superpower based on the power of their new allies. So why wouldn't they do that?
Well, they would be able to if they do create their fake space agency. They're able to mystify the people and be able to say, hey, we're doing these things in space, and so we're going to need the funding of $20 billion a year.
Bro, North Korea does not have an issue with getting its people to do anything.
It's to keep the illusion over people, like for like the okay, so these
no wait, Nathan, come on, man. Look, for North Korea specifically, North Korea would have the exact same control over its people regardless of the shape of the earth that they taught. Like, imagine this. Imagine a world where North Korea is officially, as part of their government policy, saying that the world is flat. Do you think that they lose any amount of control over their people? I would say that they actually gain, because now they can say to their people, not only is the rest of the world like anti-North Korean or whatever and against us, and they're all like imperialist pigs or whatever they teach over there, but they can say that, look, the rest of the world has been swindled into, like, they don't even know what shape the earth is. That's how you get the people on your side, because now you're the only voice that's telling the people the truth about the flat earth. So if anything, they could control their people better if they became flat earthers in North Korea.
Yeah, I mean, they could. I think if they were a flat Earth country, they would the way that their rulers treat their people would be different.
Why?
Because if the Earth is flat and it literally puts everybody on an equal ground, rather than like you being on top of the world and everyone else is beneath you. Like,
bro, you were just talking about being realistic about the way that people are. Like, come on, Kim Jong-un is not going to treat his people any better because the Earth is flat.
So that's where it goes into like the actual leaders and the people in government and who have been in government like throughout history. They are like family members and related to each other. And these people are a part of secret societies and secret clubs, and they take oaths with one another. And these are the people who orchestrate how to set a nation up, how to go and install government, and then install an academic system that teaches the things that they want to put up their illusion. Because in the Bible, it says that the devil wants to be like God and wants to have his own throne and have his own creation. And so his creation of the globe is what these people throughout time have been installing and trying to put up into the world and into the masses, because even in the end days, that even the elect will be deceived, is what the Bible says. And so this deception of, like, there are plenty of Christians who believe the earth is a globe, but that's giving part away what the literality of their book, of the Bible.
Hold on.
Science.
Those are very vague predictions, right? Like, you would fully admit that it's possible that all of those things that the Bible is saying could be referring to something completely different other than globe earth versus flat earth, right? They could be like the Antichrist could, the electorate could be, or like the elect could be tricked in a completely different way. Like, it doesn't have to do with the shape of the earth.
It doesn't, but the thing about the Bible is that it's so expressly a flat earth book, a centered earth book. And the Bible actually does say, be wary of false prophets who use science, so-called, and that actually today is the guise of where naturalism is trying to work its way into the people, is through calling itself science, calling itself, like, the idea that life can come about from rocks and chemical reactions is naturalism. It's a belief.
No, nobody believes that, Nathan. Nobody believes life came from rocks.
I mean, if it rained if it was water, wet, dry cycles, geothermal vents, I mean, none of those ideas have ever gotten anywhere close to life. So that would be, but those ideas of.
I don't know.
Like,
I think it's
man,
gotten pretty close when you have like a chemical system that's self-replicating, capable of inheritance, like variability, differential fitness effects, all of the proper attributes of Darwinian evolution in an autocatalytic chemical system in a lab. I don't know. That kind of seems close. I wouldn't say that it's not in a totally different ballpark.
It's not really, though. I mean, there are competing steps within the processes. It takes a wet environment, a watery environment, for a micelle to form, to get what looks like a membrane.
Yep.
And if you put that membrane or that micelle in a dry environment, it falls apart because the micelle only forms due to hydrophobic and philic forces causing a formation of the fatty tails. And so if you take that out of the wet and put it in the dry, it falls apart.
Okay.
But then if you have a long chain amino acid in wet, in a watery environment, hydrolysis happens and the amino acids get cut down into shorter chains.
Unless it's a very stable amino acid that doesn't undergo hydrolysis. Right. Yeah. There are. And also, like, your argument is like, well, like, okay, fine. Like, people can live at room temperature, but what if you took them out of room temperature and put them in an oven? All of a sudden, no more people. Like, yeah, if you take a micelle out of an aqueous environment and put it in the dry earth, yeah, it falls apart. Yes, because it's not supposed to be in that environment.
Yeah, so, but those are our competing.
Here's just what I wanted to clarify about you saying that life evolved from rocks, right? Organic material is not rocks, right? Basically, like the actual molecules that gave rise to life were never at any point in their previous history rocks. Like, they're organic molecules.
I mean, a rock could have zinc or something that an organic molecule picks up.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that we evolved from rocks. Like, that might mean we evolved on rocks, but not from rocks. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I might have been a little tongue in cheek there or something. But it's like coming from a lifeless earth, like a rocky earth, a magma earth, is kind of the premise that there was a no life rocky earth body.
But the organic material was not part of that, though. That's like the organic material that gave rise to life was not part of that molten earth, right? That's life did not come from that.
The earth would have cooled and then like had reasonable environments. I mean, some people think they're geothermal vents, so you can get organic molecules though to form in quite a
it's really neither here nor there. I honestly don't even know how we got onto abiogenesis as a topic, but at some point,
that's what I think.
Nathan,
with science and with the Bible calling like the deception, I think the Bible it indicates very strongly that this scientific deception is the deception that will fool the world, because you do have all of these countries all over the world teaching the earth as a globe.
Okay, but Nathan, okay, you also have said before that you really like science and you're a fan of science and the scientific method. So what is it? Is science a lie created by the devil, or is science a good method of discovering empirical truth about reality? Which one?
Yeah, science. So science, like empirical science, lowercase s science, is an intelligent process given to us by our creator so that we can understand the world that we live. And then with our understanding of nature and our new understandings of things that we learn, we are then able to develop technologies that help benefit society in a benevolent way, hopefully, because that would be ideal. And so, but now capital S science, like scientism or pseudoscience is from the devil, like teaching that the earth moves when it doesn't really, or
but what about the observational evidence that the earth does move? What about all that? Is that not scientific evidence?
Is there observational evidence that the earth moves that is beyond inference?
Science is inductive, so yeah, you're going to be following like inference to the best ability based on the evidence that you have. But science is not deductive
reasoning as well. When you carry out an experiment or something to isolate a claim, you can try to deduct what variables are responsible or more likely causal for a phenomenon. So what is an observation that we have made that the earth, the ground itself moves?
Like, you can observe like the Doppler shift in like the stars, like on a yearly basis. You can observe that there's like a Doppler effect as we revolve around the sun. You can look at stellar aberration. There are lots of observational effects that you can see. Like we have instruments that are sitting in the L2 Lagrange point right now that can observe Earth's motion.
So if the Earth, if I claim that the sky is moving, and claim that the sky is shifting around and wobbling and moving any directions or whatever,
Yeah.
that the sky is moving,
Yeah.
that would accommodate these apparent shifts and parallax and
Sure.
aberration,
Yeah.
these sorts of things. So what is an observation that we make that the
Yeah.
ground
Okay.
moves
It's
and not
about
that the sky moves?
the reasonableness and the parsimony of the model, right? Because technically, right, if you came by on a scooter and you told me that, hey, I'm not actually moving on my scooter, I'm standing still and my scooter's not moving, and the rest of the universe is actually moving around me and my scooter, and it only looks to you like I'm moving, I could not do anything to disprove that. It's physically equivalent to you moving by on the scooter. The rest of the universe moving around you, those are physically kinematically equivalent situations. But one of them is very silly and ridiculous and nobody believes it, and the other one everybody agrees with.
Yeah.
So like, to me, when you're saying what if the earth actually doesn't move and it's actually the rest of the universe that moves around the earth, that's what it sounds like to me.
Oh my gosh. That was yeah. Oh, that was hysterical.
Well, I mean, come on, like, how is it different though? How is it different? Like,
okay. Okay. So how that was, I don't know why that made me laugh so much. That was like one of them is just silly and ridiculous. Like that.
Hey, I'm a pretty funny guy. What can I say?
But I agree. Yes. If I came along and I was on a scooter and I rode up to you and I said, yo, I was just being completely still and all of you and everything else moved to me,
yeah, I
would probably want you to like check me for substances or something.
But bro, that's what it sounds to me like when you say actually the whole universe moves around the earth and the earth doesn't move. It sounds exactly the same in my ears. So like, should I be checking you for substances right now?
Here is almost an irony then about why I was laughing. Is I don't mean to laugh because I was a former globe believer myself, but the ridiculous and silly position. If I am on a still earth that feels motionless and I look up and I can use a time lapse and I can see the sky is what appears to be moving as I am still, that is the not ridiculous, seems apparent or seems readily available. It seems to be the obvious. Whereas if I came along and said that the sky is still and we're actually the ones moving and we don't feel it, which by the way, for everyone, that relativity is that very thing, is that everything is kinematically equal, and that a motionless earth has to be a motionless earth with a moving sky produces the same apparent effect as a still sky and a moving earth. If I said that backwards,
no, that's correct. But that's the
sky, still earth.
But it's exactly the same.
Nathan,
it's exactly the same for every single planet. You could do the same thing for Mars. You could have Mars be the center, and Mars stays still, and the rest of the universe moves around Mars.
On Earth.
No, but you can establish the kinematic equivalence for any planet in the universe.
Yes, technically, if there was, and that would be relativity. But I do believe that relativity it falls apart with a third person, with a third party observation or observer. I think you can falsify relativity and can determine which things are absolutely moving relative to the earth itself. Like,
okay, wait, Nathan. Okay, just to clarify, okay, like I took a course in relativity from a cosmologist whose expertise is in testing relativity. Like his entire career, all he does is test relativity to see if it's true or false. That's his entire career. So you're telling me that he just, this whole time, his whole 30-year career, he just never thought of, maybe I just need a third party and that would falsify it.
I don't know what his thoughts are, but I think you could still do a lot. There's a lot of relative motions to be talked about. And so you could have a whole career doing relativity work, and that's completely fine. But we do have absolute motions. We can see, I can see cars move on the road, and they are moving absolutely compared to the road. All of them
Wait.
are.
That's not absolute then. If they're moving relative to the road, then that's not absolute. They're moving relative to something.
Okay, the car is absolutely moving, and I can determine that it is, because if you give the scenario of like the what is it, the Flintstones thing where they're running and the background is spinning. Or
okay, wait, Nathan. Okay, I'm gonna flip the script here. I'm gonna take your position for this car. I'm gonna say that the rest of the universe is moving around the car and that the car is standing still. Prove me wrong. What would you do to prove me wrong?
Let's see, if you were in a car and saying everything was moving towards you, or like
No. I'm sitting in a car. The car is moving at 60 miles an hour. I'm sitting in the car. I'm drinking tea. I'm moving in it. I'm not accelerating. I'm moving in a uniform direction. I'm drinking my tea. I'm pouring it. I'm like, look, if I was moving at 60 miles an hour, how could I pour my tea out right now? And my windows are up. I'm not feeling any wind. How is the air still in here if I'm moving? To me, it feels like this car is standing still. And when I look out the window, I see the rest of the universe is moving around me. Now, I want you to tell me how I could prove that that's wrong, or what could I do to prove that wrong?
You could make that example more relating to the Earth, because the Earth has accelerative motions. But as far as a linear motion, so if you're in your car,
yeah,
well, we could send something that is traveling behind you. If something starts moving faster than 60 miles an hour, it could pass you from one direction, and you could see cars moving from your the other side of the road going past you the other way. So that would give you two different motions, one from behind, one from in front.
It would.
Whereas our Earth has everything going east to west.
No, there are multiple different motions with the Earth too. I mean, like, again, and also none of that would prove that the car is moving. That would just prove that, again, the universe is moving around the car. Cars are coming both towards it and against it. Like, the universe is all just moving around my car and it's standing still. It's not moving. You haven't proved that I'm not moving, or you haven't proved I am moving.
Let me try to explain it like this. You like the image of the relativity trains, where you have someone who's in the train, like you in your car, you look out, you take a picture, a snapshot of a train that's on the other, like outside, there's another train. The inside of the train or your car would look still, and then everything outside would be blurry, including that other train. And so what the relativity argument says that you can't tell if you're moving and the other train is still, or if you're still and the other train is moving. And so that what I mean by the third party observer is, if you were in your car and you were moving, and then you were driving down the road, down your horizon, and say you were driving to a building on the corner of a road, and there was another person over there, they could say that you are moving towards them, or you could say that they are moving towards you. Now, me, if I was, the triangle point and I was somewhere off in the distance, I could see how the person at the corner by the building is standing
still. The third party
still.
doesn't help you though, Nathan. Like, a third party does not help you out in this scenario, because me in the car, I just say, I'm still not moving. Both you and the third guy are moving around me. It doesn't help. I'm just trying to get you to realize that there is nothing you can do to dissuade somebody who is telling you that their car is not moving and the rest of the universe is moving around them. There is no argument. There's no test to get that person to understand that they're wrong.
I think it's the premise, because if you're saying that you're in your car and everything else is moving around you, the road and everything, we use inherently an absolute assumption of the Earth frame. And like these equations are done assuming the Earth is the absolute, and we
wait, Nathan,
relative motions of objects above the Earth.
Nathan, you are assuming
with an absolute Earth frame.
You are assuming your conclusion at the start. You're saying, look, to demonstrate that motion is absolute, I demonstrate that all motion is relative to the Earth, and I assume that the Earth is absolute. That's your argument. It's circular. Like, you're saying that everything moves relative to the Earth, and if I assume that the Earth is an absolute reference frame, then that means that everything has absolute velocity. But that only works if you assume your conclusion at the start.
Well, if you have something moving moving left, and then something else is moving right, they can't both claim to be moving. They can't both claim to be the center.
No, they can though. They can.
Everything else is moving. So you would be able to show through the actual practical carry out of the experiment. It would practically show that they can't both claim to be the center. Relativity says anywhere can be, like, any planet can claim to be the center. If you're on that planet, everything else looks like it's moving around. It would be falsified through external, like, other data points of your surroundings.
We just went through it, Nathan. We just went through it, and it wasn't falsified by that third party. It wasn't falsified by referencing the Earth, unless you're assuming that the Earth doesn't move and is absolute. Unless you don't make that assumption, which I don't see any reason to make that assumption, then you cannot falsify. Like, it literally is the fact that all motions are relative. That is just established as fact by this analogy we just went through.
So if you are traveling north on a road and you're saying that everything is moving around you and that you're the center.
Yes.
And I'm on the other side of the road traveling south.
Yes.
And I claim that I am the center.
Yes.
Can we both be the center at the same time?
There is no way that anybody can prove either of those two people wrong. They can both claim to be the center, and they are both equally right, because there is no way to differentiate between their two claims.
Hold on. So they're both equally right that they are both the center, but there's nothing we can do to show that either of them is the center?
Yes. Welcome to reality. That is how this works.
But in reality, neither of them is the center, because if they each are claiming the center points to be the center point of their observation, they're going to falsify the other one's claim to be the center.
Yeah, let me, like, within each of their own frameworks here. We're confusing the audience here. People are asking the center of what?
Of the observer, the center of the observer. Like, if any observer can look out and claim everything else moves around them and they are still, or that they are moving.
When I'm saying center, I'm saying center of the universe, just to clarify.
Yes.
I think we're saying the same thing. When we say we're the center of the universe. So if both cars are traveling on the road and one's going north, one's going south, and both drivers are simultaneously claiming that they are the center of the universe, and that both, like, their individual car is actually not moving, and the entire universe is moving north or south relative to them. Both of those claims are unfalsifiable, equally true, and equally false. There is no test that we could do that could differentiate between them.
Yeah. Yes. So there, but now if you have a second person claiming centrality, then neither of them is able to be valid at the same time as the other. Because if you could not be the center of the world and then me be the center of the world, and we're going in different directions, so that would mean that neither of us can be the center.
Correct.
Because we're both moving.
Correct.
So
no, that is correct. Yes.
The relative center.
No, that is correct. There is actually no center. Both of them are wrong, and that's why I said both of them are equally right, because they're both wrong.
Yes. So that would falsify, but that gets rid of relative frames and makes it that there's an absolute frame.
It doesn't. What is the absolute frame? Wait, Nathan, what is the absolute frame? If there is no center, then what is the absolute frame? There is none.
The absolute frame would be reality that shows that neither of them are valid in their central claim, especially when they both make the claim.
Yeah, if there is no center, then there is no absolute frame, and all motions are relative. That's the conclusion. If there's no center, all motions are relative.
If there is no center, all motions are relative.
Yeah, because if there's no central reference point to which any motion can be referenced, then the only motions can be referenced to other objects that are also moving, and so all motions are relative. That's the conclusion that follows from those premises.
But to be able to establish motion, the only way that, if I claim that I'm the center and you're moving, or if I claim that I'm the center and everything is moving around me, I need to have you moving the other direction as a reference point to say, look, I can see Grayson passing me. He is moving around me. I'm the center.
Okay, and
you need to have a reference to determine motion.
Yeah.
And how we determine our vectors in like our in physics and our practices is through it's the earth. If we're laying we are using the earth as an absolute frame,
as a relative frame, not an absolute frame.
We treat the earth as a stationary earth
for practical purposes.
Central point.
For practical purposes.
Because for practical purposes.
I mean, Nathan, for practical purposes, some engineers treat pi as 3. Okay, does that mean that it really is 3, or does that mean that it's just practically they could treat it as 3 and it would be functionally fine for them to do so?
That would be practically, yeah. I mean, that could be maybe considered like a more estimate, but
yeah,
like.
So I'm saying, like, for practical purposes, on small scales, you can totally assume that the Earth is a flat, stationary plane. Like, if you're building a house, you don't need to you don't need to account for any of the minutia of like the Earth's motion around the galaxy. You don't need to account for that. You can just say, I'm building a house. I can just make these assumptions, and it's not going to affect my final outcome, the shape of the Earth or the motion of the Earth through the galaxy. So ignore it.
Well, so then what? Like there are PhD geologists out there who even say that it is very difficult to show the Earth is actually a globe, even out to like 100 miles, which is
okay. Wait, Nathan, I happen to know that you have had a discussion with a PhD geologist, an expert in seismology, PhD Tony. And I thought PhD Tony did a good job of explaining to you how seismology definitively shows that the Earth cannot be flat and must be a globe. And at the time when you talked to him, I think that you had said, this is really interesting. I'll have to look into this. I thought PhD Tony did a great explanation. He is a PhD geologist. He knows what he's talking about. Have you been able to process his arguments about seismology and how it debunks a flat Earth in the time that you talked to him? Because he explained this to you well. I heard it.
Yeah, he did, and I think that there is because like he was talking about like pressure waves, primary waves, secondary waves, and there are there are networks and there's data that can be sent out, but I think you can get, if we're in a dome structure, you could get waves that bounce, and then they like this would be something I could like draw out. But it's like it would combine, like if you were had a circle and you had a what is it? It's not like where it's in the direct center, but say you have two boxes, one a little bit above the center and one a little bit below the center. And then if you drew a line out from the lower box to the left towards the edge of the circle, and you hit the edge, and then you bounced it upwards, and then you hit the upper part of the circle and bounce it back towards the middle, you would hit that other upper box. Like you can get things to diverge out, ricochet off of the edge, and then recombine antipodal on a flat. It wouldn't be antipodal because it's not a 3D object, but you can.
I know what you're saying, but I don't think that you could. I don't think that that's possible. And I don't know why you do think that that's possible. Because to give people a visual on what's happening, one of my favorite lines of evidence that I would posit rules out a flat Earth and shows that the Earth is a spheroid is seismology. Whenever you have a strong enough earthquake on one end of the globe, like right here, then on the other end, you measure a really strong seismic activity at the exact opposite end. So basically, you have an epicenter here, and then at the opposite end of the world is the antipode. That's the name for it. So like wherever you're standing on the world right now, if you dig directly straight down, you will emerge at your antipode. It's the exact opposite side of the globe. So whenever there's a strong earthquake on one end, we get a seismic concentration at the antipode. And what's actually you can observe at the antipode, and this has been done and measured in like the US over an entire array of seismometers. You see that the actual waves, the seismic waves, come from every single direction at once and get stronger and stronger and stronger as they converge right at the antipode, at the opposite, like the exact opposite side of the globe model. Now, Nathan is saying that on a flat Earth model, that he's saying that you can get the same effect to where if you have an earthquake over here, whatever spot corresponds to the antipode on a globe, on the flat Earth, he's saying you will get this seismic response where you'll have all these waves converging and getting stronger at that exact point. And he's saying that that is because that there's going to be some sort of like resonance effects or something. Like, why is it that, like, I wish that we could visualize this, but like say that this right here is the flat Earth, right? It's kind of spherical. And we have something like an earthquake right here, and the seismic waves spread out in a circular direction. Once they reach the edge on the flat Earth model, they would have to reappear on the complete other side, completely disconnected. So what is it that is making them, like, the waves hit the edge and then reappear on the opposite side? Why? What is causing that? What's the mechanism?
So, and Tony had actually mentioned this, how like earthquakes have and seismic waves have an issue with Antarctica. They don't travel through Antarctica because on a flat Earth model, Antarctica is the outer edge, and so Antarctica is the conduit that allows the waves to bounce off and then reconverge. If you have waves that are traveling kind of across the landmass of the flat Earth to the other side, they're going to be traveling towards that direction, but then you are going to get a recombining once the waves that go to the edge hit the ice wall and then bounce and reconverge. Now you're getting a convergence from both sides and the center that's drifting across the Earth. And so you are going to have waves.
So I'm finding this confusing. Like, where, because they don't travel in between. It's not like our Antarctica like resonates and that the waves spread out from Antarctica and then like concentrate on the other end. They hit Antarctica and then they appear suddenly on the other side of the flat Earth, like without passing through the space in between. That seems impossible in reality. Like, if you visualize this, I wish we maybe had an animation or something, but like if we visualize this, what you're talking about, if you have an earthquake on one side of the flat Earth, as soon as it hits that Antarctic edge, those seismic waves will reappear on the opposite side, and they have not passed through the intervening space.
Well, the waves do not go through Antarctica.
So the waves don't go through space? They just teleport from one end to the other end of the flat Earth?
They hold on once. Okay. They don't teleport. Well, no, they don't teleport.
So then how do they go from one end of the flat Earth to the other without passing through the space in between?
Hold on. I'm gonna pull up let's see if I
yeah, you can share your screen.
You can stream up here.
Yeah, you can be sure to share your stream if you're able to. I guess it's kind of difficult because you're on your phone. You can join back on StreamYard and then
I have. Do you have it pulled up on the? Yeah, you can be. Hold on, let me mute this. Do you have the? Why does it say that? I'll do it here.
I'll just highlight right here, Otangelo. Hey, Otangelo, good to see you. He says that being a flat earther is more rational than being an atheist. I think that this reflects more on Otangelo's understanding of rationality than on anything else.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it seems.
Wait, Nathan. I've got 4%. I've got 4% on my phone right now. Let me go get my charger. I'll be right back, y'all. Sorry for the dead air. Nathan, you can talk to the audience real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Oh gosh, I'm trying to pull up when he gets back, he can have he can pull up the flat earth map and show the
You want me to pull up a flat
the
earth
way
map?
that the waves would travel, because that I have to see what he's trying to show to visualize.
You want me to pull up a flat earth map then? I can do that. Like, you want me to just search?
To show that you can go get your charger if you want. Oh, you already got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Let me see here. Let me pull up a flat earth map. Do you have a preference, like an AE map or something?
I do. I don't really, and that's like one thing too. And is like with the Earth. I don't claim to know sizes or distances. I think they have to work for flights and everything to be able to go from one continent to another. But as far as like the water, the amount of water between them and things, that is something I think.
Okay.
The flat Earth maps are kind of to help get an idea, not necessarily have exact resolution and scale for like an entire Earth.
Okay, so here's the map. So here's my point, right? Say you have an earthquake here in Australia, right? Or my bad, in South America, right here. You have the epicenter of the earthquake is right here. You can see on my screen, right?
Yep.
So the seismic waves are going to be spreading out from that epicenter in a circle, right? Like you dropped a pond and the ripples are going to spread out circularly, right? So they're going to get larger and larger and larger until they hit Antarctica over here on the edge. Now, what happens when they hit here is that they reappear over here on the opposite end. And then Australia starts picking up those seismic waves coming from Antarctica's direction. How does the seismic wave get from one end as soon as it gets over here? The next time it appears is on the other end of the flat Earth coming from Antarctica, but it didn't pass in the space in between.
Waves do not travel through Antarctica, though.
So where's the wave? Like the wave hits Antarctica, and all of a sudden it's detected next on the opposite end of the world. What happened to the wave in between?
So the wave is it. The waves are not able to penetrate through the Antarctica the shelf.
So how do they get from one end of the Earth to the other? Do they teleport?
They travel. They radiate out. They make their circle routes, and then the circle that would expand from South America has more room to expand as it goes like crosses North America, goes to Greenland, the North Pole on its way to Australia. But the concentric circle rings that go towards Antarctica are able to hit that wall and then bounce off of Antarctica and go across, because Antarctica doesn't allow the conductivity of waves. Right.
But okay, I don't think that this is necessarily tracked. Let me look. Okay, can you see? Okay, so you saw here, I don't think that you're acknowledging the fact that the next time that the waves make an appearance, as soon as they hit Antarctica, the next time you see those waves, they are appearing on the opposite side of the globe, coming from Antarctica to Australia. That's what needs to be explained, and I'm not hearing an explanation for that. Are you saying that doesn't exist, or what?
Okay, so you were saying that if you were to draw from the epicenter outward.
Here it is on the globe here, the globe model. See my globe over here is it's floating, so you can take it off. So we said that the epicenter is right here, right? In South America. Here, let me get this. So the epicenter is right here in South America, and it's starting the wave is going to be spreading out like this in a circle. So when the spherical globe model, when it hits Antarctica, it just keeps going. And you can see that if the wave keeps going and spreading out in a circle from this epicenter, the next time it'll be available, it'll be detected, would be Australia, coming from Antarctica's direction. That's why that observation makes perfect sense on a globe. But then I'm asking you, how do you explain that on the flat Earth, where, again, the waves are traveling from this direction, going towards Antarctica, and then the next time they're detected is on the opposite side of the globe, going from Antarctica to Australia? How does that make sense on a flat Earth? It only makes sense on a globe.
But isn't that why they say that there is that they say waves don't go through Antarctica. So there wouldn't be a wave that could go across Antarctica.
They do. It works. You can see the data yourself. I mean, we can look at the antipodal data. Whenever you have an earthquake with that epicenter, you can observe the waves coming from all directions to the antipode. Like they're coming from every direction. They've gone around Antarctica.
Have you, so like, because I've seen data like tsunami data and things that shows it wrapping around it looks as though like it doesn't cross Antarctica. It doesn't, things do not cross Antarctica is from what I've found. Even that's what Tony had even said was that Antarctica, it doesn't, waves don't pass through Antarctica.
Yeah, they can pass around Antarctica and they're still traveling the same direction. Like it doesn't really matter if they've gone through Antarctica or not. Either way, you will get the same result. Where on the antipode, the opposite side of the globe from wherever that earthquake happened, what they observe in their seismometers is that the waves converge on their locations from 360, from every direction. So the waves got around Antarctica. The Antarctica was not a big issue. It didn't stop these waves from converging in 360 degrees. And I can show you that data if you want. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I can find that study that had it was the North American Seismometer Array or something like that. I can find it and you can see it visually. You actually get to see the data of the seismic waves converging from every direction onto the antipode from 360 degrees. So Antarctica was not blocking that.
Yeah, that would be something that I would have to see the data, because I would get how if at the time that there was the antipodal convergence, that would be able to focus on the other side in Australia. But if those waves are received there as one of the more immediate, now are they actually there and felt, or is it a program? Might be one thing. But if those waves are measured there, then that would be and they first go to Australia from the south side of Australia. That would mean that the waves would go either through Antarctica or around Antarctica, wrap around, and then continue on southward. But if they wrapped around southward for Antarctica, the wave would reform itself.
Okay, here you go. I'll show you some of the data here. Here's the study. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is, you can see it, antipodal focusing of seismic waves observed at the U.S. array, right? This is from 2014, Journal of International Geophysics. So this is an observation of exactly what I've been talking about. Here it is visually. Here you can see these are where all the seismometers are in the United States. This is part of the array. So this right here, this is the antipode, right there in the middle of the U.S. So yes, you can see that there's a little bit of a lack of seismometers on one end versus the other, but there are still seismometers out here that are detecting reason. It's just the data quality is not going to be as in depth as the left-hand side here. But they saw seismic waves converging from all directions at once onto this dot in the middle of the U.S. So they're coming from the south, they're coming from the north, they're coming from the east, they're coming from the west. And here is where the actual earthquake was measured. On the other side of the world, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, the exact antipode of this section of the United States. So what does this mean, right? Let's get back to the globe here. And let me get the screen back. Okay, so on the globe here, we're saying the earthquake was right here in the middle of the Indian Ocean. This is where the epicenter of the earthquake was. And then on the opposite end, right, they're antipodes on the opposite ends, the antipode is here in the U.S. So in order for the U.S. to be detecting all those waves coming from every direction at once, it had to have gone around Antarctica. For the U.S. to be detecting those waves coming from the southern direction, it had to have made a line from the Indian Ocean around Antarctica and gone from the south. So we have the data that has verified this, that those seismic waves have approached from all directions, 360 degrees, meaning they went around Antarctica.
So Antarctica doesn't act like a splitter, a wave splitter?
It might, but it doesn't significantly affect your results because the waves can go around it. It's one continent. The waves can go on the oceans to the left and to the right, and then they can converge back on the other side. They can go around the continent.
Well, you could get a southern wave on a flat Earth model with recombining.
Sure. It doesn't work on a flat Earth model. That's the point. Is that it works on the globe Earth. Like it can go around Antarctica. Like the waves could go. They could start right here in the Indian Ocean, and they could spread in a circle, and then they get to Antarctica, and then they're cut off here, and then the waves continue spreading, and then they converge on the U.S. They could go around Antarctica. It's not a big deal. It doesn't affect the end results that you measure.
Here, let me try to show. I'll hop back in the stream and see if I can show how a flat Earth might explain that through reconvergence.
Okay, sure.
With a reflection.
Okay.
Let's see. Because I think you can still get the southern readings that there is.
See, now this is what I agree with. Is Uche's comment here that if the Earth was flat, then the waves would bounce off the Antarctic wall and then be re-received back at the epicenter. You would be able to pick up those waves again if they're bounced off of Australia. You'd be able to pick up those seismic waves again at the epicenter.
They would,
and they would be coming from the direction of Antarctica.
Hold on. Oh gosh, feedback.
Okay, so you're in the StreamYard here. I think you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
Are you able to share your screen? Because I mean, I just showed you the seismic data. I can send you this study if you want to see the raw data for yourself. But I think that study shows pretty clearly that, in fact, the seismic waves converge on the antipode after there's been an earthquake. Okay, here's your screen. I see Google.
So let's see.
Okay, now you're getting some feedback here.
All right, my screen is still up here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have this and you had an earthquake here,
yep,
you would have these concentric circles radiating out, and so
yes.
Or wait, so the Indian Ocean one. So if this is the epicenter,
yes,
it's gonna go across, and it's gonna hit from here. And
how does it come from the south?
So if the waves are going out and then they hit this part and then they bounce and go this way and then they bounce, they're going to bounce and then they're going to radiate out from over here.
Right. But that's not what happens. We know for a fact that that's not what happens. Because we have seismometers all at every point that you just outlined. We have seismometers and they don't detect that happening. What they detect in reality is that on this map,
on the AE? Here, hold on.
Okay, we lost you again there, Nathan, but you seem to be back now.
I'll stop sharing and then go. Okay, so here, let me go. I'll turn off my camera again here.
Okay.
All right, so what's up?
I'm saying that what you were saying, wow, they bounce off one end to the other and that they're actually traveling through that space in between, that is not observed. Like, we have seismometers in those areas. Like, we have seismometers in Australia. They're not detecting that. They're not detecting a reflection off of Antarctica and then the waves going back in the other direction, and then they hit the other end of Antarctica and then they come back from that up. Like, that would be detectable. That is a falsifiable prediction, and it, in fact, has been falsified. That's not what happened.
So The waves are actually, they are traveling through, or not through Antarctica necessarily, but around Antarctica and proceeding southward, or what would again, I guess, be northward.
Yeah.
Once they cross Antarctica, they go north and hit America from the south.
Yes, exactly. So so the one that we're talking about was right here at the epicenter. So the waves spread to the south, go around Antarctica, and then continue. They're next detected at the southern tip of South America. Then all of our seismometers in South America are detecting it as it makes its way north and then comes to converge at the antipode in America from all directions simultaneously at the same time. That's very key too. All of them come from every direction at the same time, or around the same time, because there's going to be a little bit of difference with the type of material that it's passing through, but all within the ballpark of around the same time. They converge at that antipode, and that can only happen on a globe Earth. Cannot. It's literally just on the flat.
Yeah, that would be very low.
Draw out what has to be happening in these waves, like in the order with the timestamps of the detector. Like you could do that with the data in that study that I sent you. I think that you could get the raw data. You could look at the timestamps for when each of those seismometers is triggered, and you could see for yourself, looking at the real world data, that it cannot be a flat Earth. Like it would have to be that these seismic waves are literally teleporting from one end of the Earth to the other one instantaneously for the flat Earth to be true.
I don't think that's possible. I think, yeah, that would mean so that,
yes,
yeah,
no, exactly. The flat Earth is not possible. That's the point.
Well, then, yeah, if that's the data, then that would appear very much so to be a globe. So then, would that be something where there's a geological
we might have to
sent
go back
out,
to the
hey,
phone.
we detected earthquake here.
We might have to go back to the phone.
So you're okay. All right. Here, yeah. Let's call it back.
Okay, yeah, I'll get you back on the phone here. Okay, Nathan?
Yep.
Okay, you might want to exit out of StreamYard so that there's no loops. But yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that would be very much globe. So I don't know if that would have something to do with the programming. Maybe there is a geological program that sends out a signal that says, hey, we detected an earthquake here. Therefore, according to our modeling that using a spherical coordinate system, we should have our detectors go off at this point, at this time, and then at this point, at this time.
So it would basically, the only explanation that would be reasonable at that point would be like a hoax or a conspiracy, like it would be fake.
It would be people getting data that they believe is real and that they accurately report on. That would be basically sent out by computer. But that would be if that's the case. I don't know if these detectors are mechanical and mechanically measuring the waves, the seismology waves.
Okay,
So
well, look, I'm going to send you this data here. I'm going to send you this paper. I would like you to take a look at it, and I would really like, just drawing it out.
I'll look at the data and I'll timestamp it and try, because I will say this, Greg, if it does go through Antarctica like that and come out the other side and go and travel northwards, that is all that to me is very globe supportive. So I'll take a look at that. I actually just saw something too. Would you mind if we potentially call it here for
that's
for
fine, because
discussion?
I did say like we would probably cut it like between an hour and 2 hours, and you've been very generous with your time. It's almost 2 hours. So we can cut it right here. I would like to have a follow-up maybe when you've gone through this data, where you've drawn it out on both the flat Earth map and the globe map, and you've seen how the data reflects on both of these models. I would like to have a follow-up with you. And then,
Absolutely.
also with the final experiment, I definitely would like to follow up with you once that's happened. I want to know too if what you're saying is true and like there's a conspiracy and all these like really really powerful governments are in on it. There would be no way that the final experiment would be allowed to happen, right?
Yeah, and I think there are some people who do think like something will happen and the trip won't be able to go through, which would be, I think, kind of, I don't know why, because like some flat earthers I think are like worried, and I don't know why you would be if it's about empirical truth and what reality is. You shouldn't have a bias towards the Earth being a globe or being flat. Like I used to love astronomy and thought the Earth was a globe just fine. It shouldn't, you shouldn't have your own bias getting in the way. But if so, and that would be something to the flat Earth strength. If this throughout the community of pro flat Earth or anti flat Earth, like pro globe advocates, if the trip doesn't go through, that is in favor of flat Earth. If the sun does set, that is in favor of flat Earth. So flat Earthers have quite a bit that could strongly help support the cause.
Yeah.
And whereas so why not be fair to the globe and say if there's a 24-hour sun, that is a prediction that the globe makes that a flat Earth has no way of explaining, and I can't think of any way to get like a star tunnel or anything like that. Like nothing would make sense. The Bible says that there are portals in the sky, or in Enoch it says there are portals.
Hey, wait. The book of Enoch, you're taking that? That's apocrypha, isn't it? Aren't you supposed to think that that's like from the devil or something?
So Enoch is in the Ethiopian Canon Bible, which is like one of the oldest Christian groups. They have a couple extra books. I do believe,
bro,
that, like,
the book of the Gospel of Thomas was in some of the oldest Christian groups, like the Essenes or whatever. They were getting up to all kinds of weird apocrypha. Like I don't know, man. This is all getting into a can of worms. I can let you go. We can drop it on this, but I want to keep in touch with you, especially after the final experiment happens this winter, and see what happens.
Yeah,
with
man,
that.
For sure.
That's going to be something really interesting to track and hear.
Can I ask you if the sun set, if the sun did set in Antarctica, would that be compelling to you towards the flat Earth?
Yes.
Okay. See, and I think that's fair. Like and that's one of the things I love about science is that it's working together. How could the other person, even if you disagree with them, how could they be right? And then you look at it like that. You might find new ways of viewing things, but it's being fair to both sides. I think that's what there's a lot to like about science, and actually, too, like with I know I've talked about the military a couple times.
Let me just really clarify. People are asking like, what do you mean by the sun setting in Antarctica? Like he means that if the globe model is saying that there should be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica at a certain time of year, and people go there and they observe the sun setting when it should be a 24-hour sun that does not set, that would be a failed prediction that would spell a real big problems for the globe model. So that's what I'm acknowledging here. And that experiment is going to be happening this weekend or this winter in Antarctica. So that's going to be very, very exciting. And I really, Nathan, I've got my fingers crossed that, I hope that you drop this whole flat Earth thing even before that happens. I hope that you go home, you look at the seismology data and you say, hey, this flat Earth nonsense doesn't make any sense. The seismology data definitively shows that it doesn't. I hope that it just clicks and it makes sense. But if it doesn't, I hope that the results in this winter at the final experiment can allow you to drop the whole flat Earth thing and then be a fulfilled, self-actualized Christian or whatever you want to believe in. Go and pursue all your career goals. Don't let any belief like flat Earth stop you from being your best self-actualized self. So I hope I get to talk to you again, Nathan. And I'll go ahead and let you go for tonight because I know that there's some other stuff that you still have to do tonight. I'll let you get ready for that.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Grayson. And I am sorry too, again, for the quality and all my technical issues and audio things and lack of visuals that I couldn't really provide tonight. And y'all really, Grayson does, he does really put on for you, and he tries to make things happen. He reaches out to people and everything. So, he's Grayson. watched you longer than I've talked to you for, and I've always thought you've been a really commendable guy. So
Well, thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate that.
It's been a really good time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that very much. So I'm gonna let you go. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk again in the future. All right.
Yeah. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.
Peace out. So yeah, that was my conversation with Nathan. That was actually pretty interesting. And let me clarify some things that people are asking about why they don't just do this final experiment in the northern hemisphere where you can also get a 24-hour sun. That's because the flat earthers claim that the flat earth model also can explain a 24-hour sun in the northern hemisphere, but they all seem to agree that it cannot explain a 24-hour sun in the southern hemisphere. And you could go to Ushuaia in South America and you could see a very you could do the same kind of experiment, but they're going to Antarctica this winter. I think it's like $30,000 a ticket or something ludicrous. Otherwise, I would absolutely want to go myself. You guys know I'd go to a lot of different places for this channel. So speaking of, I'm going to be going back on the road tomorrow. I'm going to be going to the West Coast just for a fun vacation and visit some friends. But I do have some pre-recorded videos that I will be uploading while I'm gone. And I just want to have a big shout out to all the members. I had a members only poll where they got to pick the topics for the videos that I will be uploading. So that's going to be a version of the Kalam cosmological argument that actually works because I fixed the premises and now it's actually accurate and true. That's one. That was the most voted one. So I'll upload that one first. Then people voted on the lecture that I gave at my local university about the intersection of quantum entanglement and cosmology. So I recorded that, the presentation that I went over, and I'll upload that as well. It's under an hour. And then finally, I'm going to be filming my top 10 favorite extinct animals. And I'm going to be filming that on my trip. So each spot along that top 10, I'm going to be at a different stop somewhere in the country. And I'm going to be counting up my top 10 favorite extinct animals. I don't know if people are really interested in that content, but I think it'll be super fun. I love animals of all kinds, extinct and modern. So I'm going to have fun with that. And people did vote on that in the poll as well. So if you voted on that one, thank you. But yeah, I'm going to be uploading. Don't worry. Just because I'm out doesn't mean that there's not going to be any videos. But yeah, that's what's going to be happening. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Thanks everybody that listened to this stream. Thank you, Yahooligan, for donating those memberships. Everyone that became a member of this stream, you're awesome. Spam those base and cringe emotes in the chat and the face palming Jesus. I love you guys. I will be doing more members polls and more members engagement in the community tab. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, that was really fun. Thank you guys. And yeah, you guys were nice and supportive for Nathan, not calling him like an idiot for being a flat earther or whatever. Nice. I love the nice, respectful, supportive community. You guys are the best. Thank you for making all of my videos just a joy to do. And yeah, I can't wait to come back from my trip and keep making them. So yeah, have a great night, everybody. Stay curious and keep learning. Subscribe for more and hit that bell so you get notified.